We had been waiting for something like this to happen, but on Wednesday, it happened. Another team mysteriously entered the sweepstakes for PJ Haggerty. But I'll tell you this, Jerome Tang, you ain't slick.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Or whoever's driving up the price for NC State, you ain't slick. Kansas State, all right, we'll get into it. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Thursday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can sign up today and get $200 back in bonus bets if that first pesky $5 bet wins. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we kind of had the early stages of this same conversation about a week ago when we saw that PJ Haggerty was doing extremely well in the NBA draft combine. There's still silence from the NC State end, kind of just waiting around to see what happens there. Would another team come out of left field, come out of thin air, and try and get into the mix for PJ Haggerty? Well, on Wednesday, it's reported from, I think it was Hitman Hoops, never heard of them, on Twitter. They say that Kansas State, of all teams, has entered the mix, and they have the momentum to get into the running for PJ Haggerty. I will lead you off with this. That is not true. That is smoke. That is somebody, whether it's Kansas State, don't know why they would do that, but if it's the Wildcats, maybe it's PJ Haggerty's agent. Somebody is trying to drive up the price and make things more difficult for NC State. Don't buy it for a second. What say you, Kenton?
Jerome Tang, Tang Juice, Wu-Tang Clan, we'll wait and fall. Let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you here. We've got our hooks so deep in this thing. I am guaranteeing you this right now, and you heard it here first. If I am wrong, I will eat my words on this one, and I'll eat
my hat.
All right, I ain't gonna go that far. I'll eat Arby's in real life. I will sit down at an Arby's and eat a meal if we don't come away with Haggerty or Williams. If we don't come away with either one of those, I will sit down at Arby's. And you saw Grace's face right there. He was excited to eat a hat. And the minute Arby's got involved, he said, hold on, you're stepping over the line, brother.
I'd rather eat my hat than eat Arby's. Talk about losing your clean rating. Oh, my God.
But you get the point. You get the point. This is a situation where, remember, when we told y'all, hey, Boo Korg has already got the head coach. He's doing the smirk in his office. This is very similar to that situation. Do not be worried. Do not be afraid. Do not be fearful. Not in this moment. No need for any of that, because this is a new era in Raleigh. The nation is getting ready to learn reckoning, and this is part of that. Grayson and I have talked to y'all about the fact that our cohorts at Locked On are saying, well, what if Will Wade only stays a year or two, and the other coaches, Odom stays there for life, and Lucas stays in Miami for a while? And it's like, so are they immune to bigger checks and all that? But that's what happens when you are in people's psyche in that way, that they remember you a specific way. I'm going to pass it back to Grayson, but I'm going to tell y'all something. My family remembers me a certain way. They remember me as like 8-year-old, 9-year-old Ken, the small little kid with this cracking voice. And like that's how some of them remember me. That's what's stuck in their head, despite the fact that I'm 6'2", I'm over 300 pounds. I can lift a damn house. But guess what? That's the image that they have. And whenever the reality of like, oh, Kenton's a very different person from that hits them, there's always like an uncomfortability and like no, but we remember you were very irresponsible. It's like I wasn't irresponsible. I was 8, right? Like it's the same thing is happening with NC State, where people are remembering, oh, they're the lovable losers. Yeah, they'll come close. Oh, yeah, they'll get commitments from really good players. They'll just never hit campus. Those days are gone, and people are struggling to realize, wait a minute, is this the 6'5" jacked version of NC State walking through the door? Yes, it is.
continuing my point, I think this is one of only two things. It could be one, PJ Haggerty's agent, whoever it is, I thought it was his dad, but maybe I'm wrong. Whoever his agent is, who's handling all the communications, they could be floating some other programs out there to try and get more money for their client, or in that one case, if it is their son. I get that to a certain extent. Not the biggest fan of it, but that's the way that NIL and college basketball is going to work these days. It's either that or another school is nervous about what Will Wade is doing, and they are the ones that floated that information out, which is false. I will tell you again, it is false. Kansas State was basically like, wait, us? Us? It's the picture of Drewski like, me? No, Kansas State is not involved for PJ Haggerty. Why would they be involved? Like, if they were going to be involved, they would have already been involved. There's no way, respectfully, because I like K-State. There's good people.
I love me some K-State.
I've met some of them when I flew out there. They're awesome folks. I don't want to talk down on them. They're not in the running for PJ Haggerty. They had a miserable season out there in Manhattan, Kansas. They want their head coach fired. They want him out of there. You think he's going to be in a spot to land one of the top players in the portal? Get so for real right now, respectfully. Kansas State is not in the running. And so that leads me to the second point, which I was talking about. Somebody else doesn't want PJ Haggerty to end up at NC State. So they are floating out that information, hoping that you can get either Will Wade nervous and overpay, or PJ Haggerty nervous and request more money, or I don't know, maybe look somewhere else. Somebody doesn't want this to happen. So it leads me into a bigger point here. That's how you know you're cooking. That's how you know you're making waves. Somebody else doesn't want you to have PJ Haggerty. Maybe it's Memphis for all I know. I don't know. It could be Memphis because they could be salty about the situation. But what I do know is Kansas State is not a real player to get PJ Haggerty. Do not sound the alarms. It is still steady on, full steam ahead. Will Wade is not going to get out-recruited by Jerome Tang, respectfully.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not really worried about that situation at all. And even if that were to transpire, or even if there is something going on behind the scenes here, I would caution him. I don't know this young man's situation. So I'm not saying his father is his agent. I'm not saying that his agent is asking for more money. I would just caution the timing of things is important.
Yes.
And at the juncture of the ball game that we're at, a lot of people are saying, oh, there's nothing but trash left in the portal. Well, there's also nothing but trash money left. So, don't try to squeeze so hard for every penny that you end up in a worse situation because you couldn't make well enough with what is going to be a very generous offer here. And beyond that, again, I'm not really worried. I'm not really looking at this thing and saying, oh my God, I'm so concerned that PJ's not. I'm cool. I'm not worried. Panic level here is at like a 1.5.
And for those of you at home, need I remind you again, the NCAA early withdrawal deadline for those in the NBA draft process currently is May the 28th. So that is next Wednesday, now less than 1 week away. So remember, Will Wade said that we will have a great roster by May the 28th. That is now just 6 days away. You're going to see something happen. Could be this weekend. Could be as early as this weekend. Could be today. Could happen on Thursday. I don't know that for sure, but it's going to be happening within the next 6 days. PJ Haggerty is not getting whisked away to Kansas State. No. Now, I was listening to the Field of 68 podcast, Jeff Goodman. I can't believe that I'm finding myself, I don't know, not liking Jeff Goodman, but I guess tolerating Jeff Goodman because he's feeding us a lot of good NC State content. He had Will Wade in person. He was actually sitting in the Dale Center and interviewed him on the podcast on Wednesday. As I've been saying, just put a microphone in front of Will Wade every single day. I will be seated with popcorn to watch. He's a walking soundbite. But what Goodman was trying to get him to talk about was, what's this buzz going on with Darion Williams and PJ Haggerty? And of course, Will Wade's not going to explicitly tell everyone, but he did say if we could get both prospects in question, NC State would be around a top 10 team in the country. That's exactly what I just said yesterday. If NC State finds a way to flip over the right amount of stones and find the right allotment of pennies, nickels, and dimes to make that happen, it will make more teams across the country increasingly nervous. You're going to see more smoke screens because they don't want to see NC State succeed on a level like that. They don't want to see Will Wade, especially. Will Wade, believe it or not, is not loved by everyone. The coaches that he has to compete against, they probably can't stand the guy because he's taken the top talent in the country. So people want to see Will Wade fail. They want to see NC State fail. But when you're in a position like this and all of a sudden names of schools are floating out there, oh, they got the momentum, NC State better figure it out if they want to make this happen. It's because they're shook. It's because they're nervous. It's because they feel palpably the reckoning coming in the distance. Don't be dismayed. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, because this sequence in the offseason, it is prime clickbait central. It's prime, oh, NC State lost that guy. It's over. It's so over. Hubert Davis is probably going to win the national championship. Come on, guys. Everyone wants you to believe that Will Wade and NC State are going to fail. Steady on. Trust the process. Trust Will Wade. Hashtag D5 to state. Hashtag Hagerty to state. Hashtag Porque no los dos.
Will Wade is not a man who mixes words. He's never been that guy. He's never been that guy that will double speak you or, well, we could if. The fact that Will Wade is still saying if. Why would he say that? Why would Will Wade, a man that's very direct about everything, say if we can get both? Almost as if both are still in play. Interesting. Very interesting things happening around that old Dale Center there. We will keep our eyes peeled. We will keep our ears to the streets because the pavement whispers sometimes, and Grayson and I are always there to pick up on those whispers. So, we'll keep our eye on both situations closely, but I'll tell you this much. I'm not worried about the Wildcats, with all due respect, because everybody knows I love me some Kansas State. Kansas State is one of those teams, they have my heart in a way that's like, oh, they feel like our cousins, right? They feel like they're like that cousin that always has the nice games and stuff at their house, and it's always, the vibes are always high. It's a great time, but I don't really see anything coming.
Yeah, I mean, again, with all due respect to Kansas State, when I saw their name floated out there today, remember how it felt when the name Mike White was floated out in the coaching search from Georgia? All of us collectively were like, what? Mike White? Where is that coming from? I will paint the picture for you. I was sitting at my desk at work today, and I saw Kansas State now has momentum for PJ Haggerty. I looked at my phone, and I said, yeah, right, they do, buddy. We're fine. We're fine. I get the PTSD. Steady on. Trust Will Wade. Trust this process. And in less than a week's time, we might just have a pretty damn good roster. Coming up next, the ACC baseball tournament will begin on Thursday night for NC State specifically. We know who we're playing. It's the Clemson Tigers, a fourth matchup. Can NC State get it done to survive in advance? More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our Thursday sponsor is FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. There's always major momentum shifts and simply cannot miss moments. So whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and playing live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans now have more ways than ever before to play smart and win big. If you're dabbling in the Eastern Conference Finals for either hockey or the NBA, can the Carolina Hurricanes rebound and take Game 2 from the Florida Panthers? Who's going to take the NBA version of the Eastern Conference Finals? Will it be the Pacers? Will it be the Knicks? If you're looking to get in on this action, waste no more time and head on over to FanDuel today. If you're new to FanDuel, now's the perfect time to sign up. You can place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you will win $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Middle portion of our Thursday show. Now time to talk some NC State baseball. The ACC tournament quarterfinals will be on Thursday. NC State will begin their journey in this year's version of the ACC tournament in Durham. They also know who they're playing. It's a Clemson Tiger rematch now for the fourth time this season. Obviously, the last time we saw Clemson, it was in Raleigh, and NC State was able to sweep them in 3 games. They say it's hard to sweep, but I say it's even harder to win 4 in a row.
Elliot Avent, I need you. Get me 4.
you.
we need you. Get us 4 against Clemson. We know it's tough. But they threw their ace yesterday.
They did.
We're most likely looking at Titsworth Thursday. By the way, don't strip our clean rating. That's just the young man's last name.
That's his name.
We are most likely looking at Titsworth Thursday. Come on, dog. Come on. If you say we don't play for the regular season, fine. Now the stuff. This is what you play for, right? This is where you get to hang that banner and all that good stuff. It's time. And while everybody says like, oh, we're definitely out of hosting and all that, I get it. I get that a lot of things will still have to break right and all that stuff. But it's hard to say, oh, NC State is not a host despite the fact that they went 4-0 against the Clemson. And they, took a series against a Dirty Foot Club, potentially in the ACC championship and things along those lines. Like, that would be tough. And I know it's not a series. I'm saying that they're tied 1-1 because Game 3 got canceled.
Right.
That game would officially or, unofficially be the tiebreaker of this series on the season. Listen, it's time, man. It's time. If you say we don't play for the regular season, then yo behind better show up. In this moment, we are no longer happy being the bridesmaids in any sport. In any of the big 3, we are no longer happy being the bridesmaids. It's time. It's time. The sun's getting low, Coach Avey. The sun's getting low, big dog. I want to send you off into the sunset a winner and a champion. And it starts by beating Clemson on Thursday.
In terms of NC State still potentially playing for a host seed, I think that ship has sailed. I think that went officially out the door when you lost the series to Stanford. So what there is to play for is the ACC title. And like Avent was talking about, if the regular season title is for the fans, well, then the ACC tournament title, it better be for all of y'all. It better be for the players, the head coach, the entire staff, the school administration itself, the fan base, everybody, because we want this one. Y'all better want this one. We have waited for this one since 1992. That's the last time NC State baseball has won the ACC baseball tournament, 1992. Perhaps another journey can begin right here on Thursday evening. To Kenton's point, Clemson did win over Virginia Tech, and they threw Aiden Kanak, which bodes well for us. We don't have to see Clemson's best pitcher. Not to say that they don't have solid pitching behind Aiden Kanak. We were more than likely going to see Drew Titsworth. He's their second best pitcher, has been all year. The last time we saw him was in Raleigh. It was that Game 2 that we won 8-3. Touched him up for 4 runs and only 4 innings of work. So we were able to chase him from that one early. If you can get into a situation like that again on Thursday evening, you'll be in business. If you can get him out of the game early, and that's something I talk about a lot in terms of NC State baseball, when our offense is struggling at times and we're not overpowering teams with the long ball or, just slugging like you wouldn't believe, every run in games like this one matters. And they really matter even more if you can get them early. If you can put the pressure on Clemson early and get into their bullpen early, your bullpen is superior to theirs, probably outside of Lucas Malstead, their closer. He's one of the best closers in the ACC. If you can get to the rest of their bullpen early, it bodes well for State. And if State's going to throw Rom-Com Dom in this game or Ryan Marone and keep that same system, that remains to be seen. But both options are good options. Both options threw extremely well the last time we saw Clemson. The thing about Clemson is what I said before, and I'll say again now, their offense is really not their strong suit. They play really good defense, and they pitch really well. So if you can do that in the inverse, if NC State plays that same level of baseball they played when we swept them, we were exclusively clean defensively, did not beat ourselves with mental errors, and then our pitching was fantastic. If you can find a way to replicate that for just one more night, you can beat Clemson and get into the semifinals. But it's going to take a very clean game at that, because we've not played a very clean game in quite some time. In fact, probably not since we saw Clemson.
I was about to say, since that, we haven't played a clean game.
It seemed like that Clemson series was like the peak of our year because it went immediately downhill after we celebrated how big of a weekend that was at the time. But this is it. I mean, Elliott Avent, this is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for this every single year for his tenure, and it continues to elude him. But I gave this prediction over a year ago. I'm still standing on it now. You have got to find a way to win this game. If you can win this game, I might even feel better after beating Clemson than I would having to go into facing like Georgia Tech if it comes to that in the semifinal. I'm more afraid of Clemson. I think Clemson's a tougher matchup for us than a potential Georgia Tech would be in the semifinal. So whether it's Rom-Com Dom or Ryan Marone on the mound, it's going to take a very clean outing to help our bullpen get into the right position to shut that thing down. Big news on the offensive side. Chris McHugh appears that he will be back in the lineup. He was taking BP at the Doak on Wednesday, so that was a very good sign. Been dealing with a nagging hand injury. We're going to need him back for this one. He is the most powerful bat we have in the lineup, probably one of our most consistent as well. He has the highest average on the team, so getting him back in the lineup is certainly the right time to do so, but it's all hands on deck. Every game is fighting for your life. It's single elimination. No pool play games to rely on having a useless game and still getting into the next round. It is the very definition of survive and advance. This team, like I told you on Tuesday, they're set up for this type of format. They're set up to win 3 games in 3 days. Because you remember at their most dominant part of the season, when they swept Cal and they swept Clemson, they played all 6 of those games and only needed 6 different pitchers to do so. You're set up to take this thing home. Now is the time. This is the team to do it, the pitching staff to do it. The fan base is clamoring for this. Avent basically set himself up for a bigger stage now. It all starts on Thursday night. Clemson, NC State, 7 p.m. in Durham. It's the quarterfinal. This is where the journey begins. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Thursday show talking about the ACC and their TV revenue money. How does it stack up against the SEC and the Big Ten for last year's revenue? More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Last couple minutes of our Thursday show, talking some ACC TV revenue. Now, this was an article on ESPN written by David Hale, looks like about 6 days ago. It is titled, "The ACC Distributed a Record of $45 million per school in 2023 and 2024. So, Kenton, we've talked a lot, especially on here, about the ACC revenue distribution model, how that will affect NC State specifically, potentially conference realignment, not so distant in the future. For the ACC to generate $711 million in 2023 and 2024, which breaks off into about $45 million per school, it doesn't seem that unhealthy to me.
Grayson, I've got news, good and bad here. The bad news, some of these teams are taking reduced cuts or no cut. So that definitely benefits in. SMU is taking nothing.
That's right.
Cal and Stanford are taking 30%. I've got some great news. Clemson, because of the success initiative and the ratings initiative, they're going to end up making more than most of the schools in the Big Ten and the SEC. So what does that mean for NC State? I feel like a broken record. I really do. I really do. And I know people are like, Ken, you probably have a vanity license plate that says win. I do have a vanity plate. It's for my fraternity. That doesn't say win. But just win your ball games and you are going to get paid more. If Doran can get it done at a high level, this team will get paid more. If Doran is not the coach and the next coach in does it at a high level, you are going to get paid commensurate to a high level. But with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, we have to do our part. We have to show up. We have to watch these games. We have to make sure that they're streaming everywhere in our house. We have to make sure that our friends know that the game is on. We have to make sure that it's on, even if you're leaving the house, okay? By the way, some of y'all live in very nice neighborhoods and all that. I'm going to tell you, as somebody from a place where I was close to a McDonald's that was affectionately known as the Murder Mac, you're supposed to leave your TV on when you're not home anyway. Get a Robbins in the field that you're there. But with that being said, this is a big deal. If we do this properly, I get it. We're not the biggest fan base in the world. We're not. But you know what? We should be the most passionate. We should make it clear through our viewership. Even if you don't like Doran, even if you don't care for what the coaching staff has done and you think that NC State needs to hit another level in football that we haven't hit, I understand that critique. Again, I've told y'all, I love Doran. I got his number in my phone. I would never lie to y'all on behalf of any coach. Doran, Will Wade, Avent, Coach Moore, doesn't matter. That's just not who I am. I'm telling you, you still need to watch these games because if our ratings hit what they could hit, we could be, I'm not saying in the exact same seat as Clemson, but close.
And I know what you might be thinking. If the ACC generated $711 million, breaking out to about $45 million per school, then what in the world did the Big Ten and the SEC do? Well, for reference, the Big Ten pulled in $880 million in 2022 and 2023, but it says in this article from David Hale, those numbers will be significantly higher in subsequent filings that reflect a massive new TV deal for the conference. Now, the SEC, on the other hand, they pulled in $808 million for the 2023 and 2024 year. That averages out to about $53 million per school. So you're only looking at a difference of $8 million from the ACC to the SEC. Talking about viewership and SEC, it just means more. Only $8 million more per school. Yeah. That's not that big of a jump. Now, again, I do understand what Kenton's saying about SMU taking none of that, Cal and Stanford taking a much reduced form of that. So if it was an equal share, it would not be 45, it would be lower. But fighting and scratching and clawing to stay afloat, I think they could certainly be doing a whole lot worse.
Agreed. And by the way, you know who we haven't mentioned yet? The Big 12. Yeah. Drake Toll, we're talking to you, buddy. Always talk about which teams are going to poach out the ACC. Hey, y'all boys ain't got no motion? Y'all boys the Big 12 ain't got no money? In the words of Terrence Howard and Best Man Holiday, brother, do you need some money? Okay? But in all seriousness, and I just want to make one thing clear. We are doing fine as a conference. It could be better, but we are doing fine enough as a conference. And I want to end it on this. Wolfpack Nation, I'm not castigating you and saying you haven't shown up. The numbers say that we are one of the most prolific in terms of viewership fan bases in the ACC. We have not gotten opportunities on national, program or on national TV as much and all that. I specifically have talked about on Locked On ACC as well as here that if you talk about the numbers, when we talk about why us getting Peacock against Notre Dame was complete and utter BS, it was because the numbers bear out. We're a bigger draw than Syracuse. We're a bigger draw than Pitt. We're a bigger draw than the bottom half of the ACC. We honestly and truly are. So this is not to y'all. This is more to saying, Doran, go win more. Win more to put us on those national stages. Show up for the national stages. And when that happens, combined with the support we already have from the wonderful fan base that is Wolfpack Nation, there will be multiple sleeping giants. It will feel like the rumbling for those of you who know what Attack on Titan is. If you don't, Google it. It'll be a fun little Wikipedia session for you. So this is a time where when everybody's trying to look in the couch cushions for every penny they can find, we have a way to get some dollars delivered to the door. But it's not easy. Everything NC State wants is on the other side of hard, and we got to get through that hard to get what we want.
And I'll put it to you this way. If you're not watching for Coach Dorn, if you're checked out on Dave Dorn, then watch for CJ Bailey. Watch for Hollywood Smothers. Watch for Justin Jolie. Watch for the excitement that
Brandon
you could see. Brandon Cleveland on the defense side of the ball. Caden Fordham when he's fully healthy. Watch for the guys that you are excited to watch. Not because you're fed up with the coach. NC State's fan base is one of the most passionate in the country. We know this. Don't let up now. You're watching your viewership and your buy-in to everything our school does. It literally, quite literally, it pays off. Don't let up now because NC State is benefiting off of the school's passion. Believe it or not, even though it doesn't feel like it all the time, they most certainly are. That will do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Your thoughts on PJ Haggerty and randomly Kansas State thinking, or maybe not them, but somebody else thinking that they're getting in the mix. They're not. It's a smokescreen. Give us your thoughts on that. Give us your thoughts on Elliott Avent and Pac-9 baseball in action in the ACC tournament on Thursday night. Y'all better tune into that one as well. It's a massive game. NC State's going to need all the support they can, both at the DBAP and at home as well. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.